Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Law and Order podcast. Woo! Okay. Today's topic is going to be homelessness, and we'll be talking about that. Yeah.
And we come from a place where it comes with a lot of homelessness. If you drive past on Highway 12 or another highway, I can't remember the name, but if you drive past Six Flags, you know you're heading the right way.
There have been several bills released in the recent years to deal with the situation. I specifically want to talk about the kinds of people who tend to be homeless. Tends to be youth who have mental illness, who are LGBTQ and out, things like that. Military veterans, drug and alcoholic addicts, and other people with mental health issues that tend to be homeless. And the one thing that I noticed in common with this situation is that we treat them all like crap, and they all just need some form of help. It's not like someone lost some money and now they don't have a house. It's usually some situation prior that they really just need help with.
And with that said, Felix allowed us to know what happens in the Bay Area. With that also said, many youth do not have a place in the foster system because a foster system can be very, very terrible at sometimes. And to mention, many of our homeless are actually U.S. veterans, people who served our country, people who actually signed their name on a document and said, I'm going for the government to protect my land. But also mention that there are some people who do drugs and do fall to alcoholism is something problematic because they suffered with it and they didn't get help with it, and now they're forced to live on the streets because that's all they know for now. I've seen people be on the streets for a long time, and it's to the point where you can recognize the person, oh, there's the person I usually help, so you give them something. And what Felix is talking about for the bills and stuff is going to actually help them. So yeah.
It's just I'm doing an assignment in my college class, and the crazy thing is, because both of you are totally 100% right. There is this thing, specifically in the Bay Area, there's this rising homeless phenomena in which it's no longer those groups, but it's also people who have jobs. People like San Jose University, a professor there is literally homeless because she can't afford the $2,000 rent. And so it's not just people who marginalized groups anymore. It's seeping, it's getting so bad that it's really everyday people who have jobs who cannot afford $2,000 a month rent when there's all this other crap. It's wild. It's crazy the kind of.
But California is also known to be very expensive because if you go to Benicia, there's houses for millions.
That's what I'm
saying. $1 million. Yeah, that's expensive.
And then it was okay. So there was, I forget the dude's name. He was assemblyman or something in the government, and he's well, we had started this project where we were putting up low income housing because that would make sense. You put up lower income houses that cost less so that more people can afford it. There started being people were not in my backyard. We don't want those kind of people. So then even when help is made available, just the stigma and the stigma around homeless people is so bad that no one wants to interact with them. You know what I mean?
That reminds me of something. I was going to talk about something else, but that reminds me of something. Do you guys know about anti-homelessness infrastructure? It mostly happens in England, where there is another really big homeless problem. But basically, places where homeless people usually sleep or set up their stuff, like under bridges or on benches and stuff, have infrastructure that don't allow that. For example, benches might have armrests at certain intervals so people can't lay down in them. Underneath on ramps and underneath bridges, there might be spikes so no one can lay comfortably on them. And it goes along with the whole like stigma, of homeless people are less than human, which is very, very sad. Another thing I wanted to bring up was during the beginning of the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic, there was a huge boost in like helpfulness for the homeless, but that was only because they didn't want a bunch of people dying on the streets. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but during that winter, it was very, very cold. It was very cold, and then during that, when the pandemic started here in the U.S., hotels and stuff were offering up rooms, vacancies for very cheap, so that homeless people could stay in them, right? And I think about it, and I think about, wow, they were helping them at this time, but they could be helping them for years, right? Only because they didn't want to have a bunch of unaccounted for bodies on the road. You know what I mean? So yeah,
I'm glad you said that, because I remember this one time where I don't know if you guys know this, but like, there was this shelter for homeless people, and I used to help the shelter with some family friends, and these people literally took the money they got. And literally just said, no, we'll take the money and go. And this was in Vallejo too. And like the same place is still open, but under different ownership. But like, it's sad to see that people will literally just try to help people just for the money. And like, I see many influencers today like videotape them and say like, oh, I'm doing a good deed. But not everyone needs to see like you're doing a good deed. Like, you don't need to record it. And like, for me, like, I can tell you all the good deeds I do. Like, for Christmas, I was getting my best friend a Christmas present. And he said, I don't want nothing from Christmas. You want to know what I want? I want you to give presents to the homeless. So we literally went out to buy things for the homeless. We went to buy them some food, some cones and stuff to help them out. And we did the same thing on Valentine's Day. So it doesn't matter, like, the government says, oh, we can't have these people out on the streets. I've literally seen cops throw people's stuff in streets because they were living on the side of a road. Yeah, it is dangerous, but the economy's wealth, I want to say, I don't know, I can't remember the econ term, but it's so high that there's not enough space for these people because of the prices. Because if you're not working, you're not getting money, and if you have no money, you're not going to earn anything.
But I feel like people care more about certain gains than actually helping out the people living in America. And with the economy, yes, there are some people with jobs, but there are so many people with a job that live under the poverty line. And like, I know there's like racial discrimination against housing and stuff like that, and some people can't even afford the basic necessities, so that's why like they would go homeless. And I think in New York or somewhere on the east side, they have like these refrigerators or like some things, I don't know what it's called, but they would provide some foods or like some resources to homeless people, which is nice. But I feel like we could do more with that, with the money that we do have. I don't know how much money we have, but I feel like we could do more, like with some centers to actually help these people, you know?
Yeah. Like in Vallejo, there's like many places where you could open up a shelter. There's many places in Fairfield. There's many places in Venetia. There's many other places in California itself. These people are literally like wanting a place to sleep. They want the warmth. They want to come home to a bed, to a warm thing like they used to have. Like, who wouldn't, right? Like, I've slept on the ground before. Was it fun? Yes. Would I want to do that every night? No. But it comes to like a sense, like, The government wants to do what the government wants to do. And city officials want to do what they want to do and won't listen to a lot of people. And that's somehow reasons why people go homeless. And people are like saying, oh, well, there's welfare, there's Section 8. Sometimes those people can't get in due to other things because a lot of people are using that system, and sometimes they're not even qualified for that system.
I was just thinking, like, as you guys were talking, I was just thinking, like, different solutions, because obviously the homeless, like, a lot of jobs can't be obtained by homeless people because they do not have a home address.
But that's what I'm saying. Oh, sorry.
I was thinking about how, I'm thinking about, like, some solutions, like, you already talked about, like, low-income housing. I know Sacramento was doing this thing where they built, like, tiny houses for the homeless. Like, they were very small, but they were very, usable. And then I was thinking about a joke that me and my sister made like a year back, was like buying a shed, finding a plot of land and just living out of that shed, because buying a shed for like $5,000 and then buying all the stuff you need for the shed is significantly cheaper than paying rent in California or buying a house in California. You know what I mean? So I was like, if there was an organization that was able to do that for homeless people, especially like homeless vets or homeless drug addicts, whether they be relapsing, rehab, all that kind of stuff. If there were people who are able to do that, like as an organization for the homelessness in California, although that would not completely get rid of the problem, I think that would drastically reduce the people living on the streets right now.
Oh, dude, I totally agree with you. I think another thing that we should all take into consideration is the job market, right? Because while I think it's nice to give homeless people like food for like the day or like money for whatever, that only is going to last for a certain period of time, right? Whereas in my mind, if we can provide them, because like as to what Felix was saying, if it's so hard to get a job when you have to fill in the where do you live, like whatever, when you don't have a place to live. And so like if you can get someone a job, then you've secured them like a weekly, monthly, whatever, a somewhat stable income to start picking themselves up. And like I feel like that's what is most significant, because you can do that. You can pay water bills, you can pay your house bills, you can pay like all these little things that you need to exist somewhat, at least like comfortably, until you can work your way up or whatever. But like I don't know, if there was a way, I don't know what jobs wouldn't require you to fill in a home address, but I feel like if we could make jobs, or because there's so much stuff, I feel like there's so many things you can make jobs out of, that I don't know, that'd be really beneficial to them.
I mean, instead of like, yeah, I agree with you. Like we should make like jobs with that for homeless people to go, like maybe you could use one of those freelancing jobs or whatever and use those for the homelessness, because it's freelance and gives you like some sort of money to start off with, and then as you gain more experience, you could like go for the harder jobs.
Do you mean stuff like working on your own, or do you mean stuff like Fiverr, Upwork, that kind of thing?
Both, like,
because like another obstacle that needs to be hurdled, and another thing that needs an address, which is really sad, is a bank account. To open a bank account, like I know this from experience, you definitely need an address. So let's say that you were able to get a job, right? But they aren't able to pay you in cash up front, which makes sense because that's a lot of money to just have on hand. You would somehow need a home to be able to put that into a bank account, which is another hurdle to be jumped over. Because like if I'm trying to get money to be able to buy a home, but I can't have a place to put that money, how am I going to buy a home? So I'm wondering if there's like a situation where you can have like someone else open a bank account for you, or if there's like a situation where you can open a bank account without like an address and stuff like that. But I think we need to address, if we want the homeless population to, dwindle, we first need to address the stigma we have against them, and then find ways to help them with our current system. Like we need to change some of our current systems to be able to help them.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, it's that is it a paradox, or like in the system, like that's like the whole huge paradox. You need one thing to get the other, but you can't get the other without the other thing. I wanted to add on to the stigma thing just to give like some real life stuff. Mind you, this isn't in California, I should probably say that, but it's homelessness doesn't happen just in California. But when I lived in Delaware, my church did this, or the old pastor, he did this thing where he was like, he had renovated the back parts of the church to make little rooms for homeless people so that they could stay there. And the thing about the church is that we're kind of surrounded by like a cul-de-sac or like a bunch of neighborhoods. There were so many signs and protests at that church, like almost every day. And he would get like crapped on, being like, we don't want those people in our backyard. I'm like, one, no one's in your backyard, first of all. Two, it's a church. It's literally a church just trying to provide for these people. And there was so much backlash. And I just remember thinking like, no, none of them were stealing anything. Most of them were just exhausted and tired and hungry and needed somewhere to just sit and chill out for a while. And like, it was just crazy to me, the kind of response that there was to that. Like, you couldn't go 2 blocks either way without seeing signs people had put up saying like, get them out of here, we don't want them in our neighborhood. And I was like, but then you're going to be pissed off that they're sitting in the streets. Like, I don't understand what you know what I mean? Like, well, what do you want here? It's ugh. Because even if we do get bills and stuff put in place, the amount of like the that kind of negative response, first of all, you're not even talking to the homeless person. You're just saying that, no, we don't want you at all. I don't even want to hear, like, you know what I mean? Ugh, yeah. That was just wild.
But yeah, they don't have access to anything, and if they use any type of substance that could get them into the prison system, that will affect them a lot. And even when they are released, they have no place to go. So they're just gonna have this continuous cycle of going in and out of prison. But I also don't know exactly how the prison system works, but with I don't know, bail or something like that, they also barely have any money to get them out of that situation. So they don't know what to do, like no access to anything. And sometimes if they do use the money, or if they have the money, some addicts would use that to find their next fix, and you know, that's pretty bad.
It's just crazy how like even homelessness could even happen with the children too. Because this one time in the Philippines, when I was like 10 or 11, I went to this one organization where we go to this church, and like, you know, we provide food, chinelas or slippers in the Philippines. We always, yeah, like, it's just crazy how like when they went inside there, I was surprised by the huge amount of kids and parents like just being homeless, just having a lack of food. And if they ever, like, to follow up, Pia said if they go to jail or that, they're like really limited on getting out, because one, they don't have the money to get out of that situation, or like even like some reputation, or I forgot the word for it, but like some sort of reputation to, like, you know, like to say that they're a good person, but you know, it's, yeah.
I've been to the Philippines a couple of times, and every time I go like into the streets, or if go to like some places, there are so many children on the streets begging for money. Like, sometimes it would be like really busy. They would go in between cars trying to find like some type of way to provide for them or for their family. And it's kind of, it sucks, because these people are really young, and they don't have any life experience to guide them to have a stable future. And yeah, we need help.
Don't forget to reshare our videos and comment down below what's your personal opinions. Do you have a good experience or a bad experience? This has been fun, and this has been late, so we'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.